All right, we're back, guys. We're let's go. Let's go. Oh, I got the countdown.
Are we live?
Hey, we are
Can you
live.
hear me?
We are live, and it's not 5 yet. It's only 4. I'm Tip Major. That's Greg Kellogg, the Hall of Famer. We're here to answer some questions for you guys. Greg, how's your day going?
Well, I'm just running late because I started working out on Monday, like I told you. And Tuesday I was
talk about
tired.
that.
Tuesday I was tired because it was water aerobics. I wasn't sore.
Greg.
I wasn't really sore. I was just tired, right?
Okay.
Yesterday I did silver sneakers. Now that's supposed to be aerobics for older people. And there's a bunch of old ladies in there. Some of them are big old ladies. They're all putting me to shame. All of them. I've got no abdominal muscles at all. Since I had my knee surgery, I've got no strength in my legs at all. And so they're doing all these aerobic style exercises, almost like dancing. You got to coordinate your arms and your legs. And there's a chair, so I was able to sit down after 15 minutes. But I came back and Janie fell asleep. She did it perfectly, but she was really exhausted. It wore her out. So it wore me out. And my hip was sore. I wanted to ice it. My knees were sore. And then today was a day of rest.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, have you rested?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm resting.
Okay.
And weekends. Okay. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, until I get into a good stream where I can do it and not feel exhausted. Okay. I work hard at the water aerobics, but it doesn't hurt my body, which is good. I mean, my arms get tired and stuff because they got these. It's like barbells with fins on it, and you go underwater, so you're getting resistance from using them. Okay. And I'm working at it when I'm doing it, but the exercise is good for me, buddy. It's really good.
Greg, I'm super proud of you, first of all, for doing that, man, because I've worked with you hand in hand. We've worked really close together. We're at the Fantasy Football Expo, and I know you were moving during the Fantasy Football Expo, but I do remember you saying you were going to retire pretty early at some of the nights because of how your body was aching. So
I was in bed by 9:30 every night at the expo. Okay, all these people going out drinking. I don't drink, and I don't stay out till midnight. Now at home, I'll stay up till midnight, but I'm laying on my couch watching TV. I'm not walking. The walking bothers my knees and my hips.
You're not bar hopping. You're not bar hopping.
Oh no. I'm not walking and standing. But it's next year. Hopefully, I'll be in better condition.
You will be.
And I may go to the bar, but it'll be Coke. It won't be rum and Coke. It'll just be Coke and ice. So, you going back next year?
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, I pretty much can say I'll be set as a staple there till I leave this earth. The thing this year is my girlfriend Alana. She's planning a girls' trip with her friends. So I was thinking she was going to be able to go. It's like they're like simultaneous. Like I think hers is like either the week before or after, but they're like really close within each other. But you know what? Hey, I told her, go ahead, have fun with your friends. They're going to Belize out of all places. I was
Belize is nice. Belize is nice. They speak English there.
Well, you know what? She was like, she at first it was going to be a couples trip, like husbands and boyfriends. And I just told her, I was like, Alana, that's too close to the Fantasy Football Expo. I'm sorry. No, we could any other time of the year we could go, but that's just too freaking close. And she
understands. Take a lot of pictures because it's nice. It really is a good place to visit.
100%.
Janie and I went.
Also, man, I'll definitely tell her to take some pictures. But here at the Sports Affiliation, we have our Thursday Checkdown show, which you guys need to check out. It's coming on at 6:00. But our Thursday Checkdown show, we are always try to answer mailbag questions. Most of the times we get to those questions, but we've been getting a lot of questions, Greg. Not necessarily in our TC _ bookings at Yahoo, but we're getting them on X as well.
Dude, this is not technical foul. This is timeout. All right? we're going to get into a bunch of questions tonight, but there's one thing I want to say before we start.
Sure.
Because you've got to do it right now. If you need a starter at a flex or wide receiver position right now, I don't know his last name, Bub something or other, Bub Maine or something.
Bub Means.
Yeah,
yep.
Bub Means on New Orleans. The top two receivers are out. He got like 8 or 9 targets last week and did pretty good. Go out and pick him up now because you don't have to waiver him. You can just add him to your roster. Go out and get him now before we get into any questions so that you've got him for tonight's game, because I'm thinking 14, 15 points from this kid.
Hey, and Rashid Shaheed is out too, Greg. He's out with the torn meniscus with the surgery.
Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave are out.
Yeah.
Plus, guess who else is out? Patrick Surtain.
Oh, big time. Big time curtain. I call it big time curtain. Yeah, man.
So go get this kid now. Go get this kid
You heard it from the Hall of Famer, everybody. All right. So at the sports affiliation, like I said, we want to help you guys out. So we got 5 people here, and we got maybe a few more questions as well. We're going to see how time flows because we like to do this show about 30, 40 minutes. But Greg, let's go ahead and get into these questions. Are you ready?
I am ready, but I told you that I went verbose on a couple of them. Well, the first 2 I'm verbose on.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get ready, guys. Get ready for the timer. We might have to get that. I don't know if you ever watched the Chappelle Show, Dave, but they had a wrap it up box where you had to wrap up your speech or your whatever you're going to say.
You need one of those stand timers for me.
Yeah. We might have to. All right. So our first question is from Jay. Jay wants to know this week, Sean Tucker or D'Ernest Johnson. Greg, what do you got?
So Tip is huge into Sean Tucker this week. I'm not
no, not this week, just overall. But go ahead.
Well, no, but this week too, you went out and got him right away. You're huge in getting him this week because if he has another good week, he's not going to be available next week. So no, I get that. If you're at a point where you need one of these guys, you probably drafted wide receiver heavy. And I would seriously consider using a more balanced drafting approach in future years. Okay. I do not like the 0 running back format. I think it's a recipe for disaster. Tucker looked great last week. He really did. And if you get points for return yardage, he's even better because he's a kickoff return guy. Now he returned.
Wait, Greg. You know, I actually wrote about Sean Tucker in my article yesterday, or that came out.
Yeah, but did you write about Bucky Irvin in your article? Because he also returns kicks.
He does, but I don't know. I just really like Sean Tucker. I'm gonna let you keep going.
Okay, go look. You'll see that he returns as many kicks. There's 2 guys back. They got to pick their poison. Okay, one of those 2 guys is going to return. And tonight, Marvin Mims. Put Marvin Mims in your lineup tonight because New Orleans will kick to Denver. Okay, so get Marvin Mims in. Anyway, I think he looked great. But if you look at his game logs, okay, prior to week 6, Sean Tucker had a total of 7 touches. All right, that's 5 games, 7 touches.
Okay,
4 of them were kick returns. Okay, so he had 2 carries and 1 reception prior to last night. Now Rashad White's out; he may miss another couple weeks.
Right.
Okay, so Tucker will get play. Don't fool yourself about that. But I looked at what Bucky Irvin did, and he did not do anything to lose his job. He actually had a good game too. Sean Tucker finished running back 1 primarily because he got in the end zone twice.
Right.
Okay, he scored twice. Bucky Irvin only scored once, but he was running back 12. That's still a starting running back. Plus, you and I talked about this. You've got to understand who's the better blocker. Now, Tucker's about 10 pounds heavier than Irvin, but they obviously trust Irvin with the blitz pickup, or he wouldn't have been playing earlier in the year. So I think last week, Bucky Irvin had a great game, but not like Sean, okay? But also, I don't think Bucky cost him his job. So it's worthy. Todd Bowles asked about Bucky Irvin, his performance. He said it's worthy of, let's see, it's definitely worthy of making it a three-headed monster. Talking about the running back room.
Mm-hmm.
This tells me Rachaad White's not done. They're still going to use Rachaad White. I don't want any part of a three-headed rotation. I don't care, because I don't care if it's Bucky Irvin, Rachaad White, or Sean Tucker. If they're getting pretty equal shares, they're going to get basically 10 carries apiece. Think about it. They're not going to run the ball 50 times. Nobody does. All right. So they're basically getting 10 to 12 carries. I think of the receiving backs, I think Rachaad White's the best of the receivers. I think Tucker and Irvin are both good, but I think Rachaad White is the best receiver. I just, he's asking about Sean Tucker or Ernest Johnson. Now,
Right.
Ernest Johnson is also the third running back on his team. He's behind Etienne, and he's behind Tank Bigsby. And frankly, Etienne may play this week. He's day-to-day with a hammy, but he practiced in part already this week. On Wednesday, he had a limited practice, but still a practice. So I don't think it's a serious. They're calling it a day-to-day, week-to-week injury for Etienne. I went back and I looked at the entire history of Dearness Jackson. He's got 5 or 6 years in, and I looked at Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker, I'm sorry, I go Sean Tucker here easily. And I'm not big on Sean Tucker, but Dearness Johnson has 3 top 24 running back finishes in 6 years.
Yeah.
Just 3. So there's no way I'm taking him.
Well, yeah, I think we both agree on this one. However, there's points that we disagree on, and we're gonna get. You got to your points about the three-headed monster.
Well, let me add one last thing. Let me add.
Okay,
and I mentioned this to you earlier in the space. If it's me, I'm picking up Kamani Vidal. He's probably available on your waiver wire, and I think he has the clearest path to workload. First of all, as long as Gus Bus is on IR, which is at least 4 weeks, okay, he's the backup, and Harbaugh trusts him, and he just got a taste of what he could do last week. All right.
Did you watch Kamani Vidal last week?
I saw a 38-yard pass. That's the only thing I saw of him. But
who did he remind you of?
I like the kid. I told you I thought he'd be starting by week 4. So, and if Dobbins goes down, I think he becomes a top 15, maybe top 12 guy. I think Vidal's that good. I pick up Vidal, Blake Corum. I pick up Vidal or Blake Corum over Puff Daddy Turner. Hey, P. Diddy, baby. Sean.
Greg. No. We're not condoning that today. No, Greg. But what I will say though,
I'm just giving him a nickname. I'm not saying he tweets.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. But what I will say is this: we saw last week what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scored in New Orleans, and this week they're going against another opponent who's tough against the run, but they're still giving up a ton of points in the Baltimore Ravens. They're giving up 24 points per game, and guess who's scoring almost 30 points a game? Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So what's going to give here? Yeah, you may not run through them because their run defense is one of the tops in the league. But as far as passes go, and Baker Mayfield's going to be good for some dump-off passes. That's what he likes to do. So with that being said, I think Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker can also be viable yet again in this game. And I think that's one of the reasons why I picked up Sean Tucker, because I think that they both can be viable. I see them trying to slow down that. So as a flex, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think they try to slow down the Baltimore Ravens offense because, let's face it, that offense right now is clicking on all cylinders. It's crazy how, remember the first 2 weeks of the season, we were all making fun of how bad the offensive line is, and now look at how they look. And Derrick Henry is just scoring touchdowns here and there, and it's been crazy with that team, how they turned around so quickly. But it's Baltimore.
Derrick Henry makes any offensive line look good.
He does.
Even Tennessee looked good last year with him.
He truly does. So my thought process behind the whole thing is, I want the guy with the higher upside. Out of these two, it's definitely Sean Tucker. And I think that, Sean Tucker's been in the league now Bucky Irving, he's look, Bucky Irving has surprised me. I was the biggest Rachaad White fan out there. And you know what? I was on Spaces pounding the table saying, get Rachaad White on your team. He's good as a third running back on your squad. He's a good flex option. He can catch the ball. He was top 10 last year in running backs. All of this great stuff. But the thing is, the actual thing is he's a plotter, right? He does it all with volume. He's not electric. He doesn't run really fast. He does have
he's not efficient.
He does have a long run this year against the Falcons, but right, efficiency. He's not efficient. Bucky Irving is efficient. Sean Tucker is showing that he can be efficient. So I think you go out there, you get Sean Tucker because chances are Bucky Irving's already picked up. You go out there and get Sean Tucker because if Bucky Irving, who also has been banged up too, if he does get hurt in one of these games, of course, we never want that to happen. But if he gets hurt in one of these games, then you got a guy in Sean Tucker who can carry the load. He can score points through the air or on the ground. And Greg talked about it, the return aspect from it. And Bucky does return the punts as well. But I just like the fact that he's a little bigger. He's a guy that, yes, we do need to check. We do need to look at his blocking.
I don't think he returns punts. I think he only returns kickoffs.
Return kickoff, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so Sean Tucker just does the kickoffs. But he gets you return yardage, especially if you're in a Scott Fishbowl league or FF7s like we're in. Any of those leagues where you get the return yardage. So I think we're both in agreement. We just have different aspects on the outlook of Sean Tucker.
Well, let me ask you, 50-50, you need a guy that can play for you today. Would you take him over Vidal?
That's really close, Greg. I like the Tampa Bay offense a little bit more. You know, I was looking at, again, the Tampa Bay, they score 30 points again, 29.7, but I'm rounding it up to 30. So I want the
did you look at who they
like the running back. I always like
they
the running back
Detroit.
Yeah.
Who else did they play?
I always like the running back who's in a high-powered offense.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I always like a running back who's in a high-powered offense. And right now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are number 3 in the league. The LA Chargers are 26 at 18 points per game. Now, that doesn't mean anything as far as really what you're looking for is the touchdown, right? You're really looking for the touchdown aspect here. I think that J.K. Dobbins is still possibly their goal line guy. Although Kamani Vidal looks like he's a bowling ball. He looks a little like Austin Eckler out there. That's what I was alluding to earlier when you saw that 38-yard catch that he had. He looks a little bit like a lot like Austin Eckler, actually, with the number 30. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with the running back who has ties to the higher scoring offense right now.
Okay.
And that's Sean.
Hey, listen, we got
or P. Diddy Tucker. What'd you call him?
Puff Diddy? P. Diddy. Puff Daddy.
P. Diddy Tucker.
Yeah, it was Sean. I played on his name. Hey, listen, first, hello to Albert. Glad to see you here. Second, Alex has a question. And
okay.
I want you to answer this one first. Basically, he wants to know what are our thoughts on Garrett Wilson after the Adams trade. Also, do you have Adams or Wilson ranked higher for the rest of the season? And he says, thank you.
Well, first of all, Alex, you're welcome because we're going to answer this one. This is a tough one, man. I kept looking at these things back and forth. And rest of season, how can you not want Davante Adams? You know what? I was snooping around. I did some research, and it's been a while since Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers has played. As a matter of fact, the last time they played together in Green Bay was in 2021. Do you know, Greg, in those last 5 games of that season in 2021, Davante Adams had 6 touchdowns in that game. In that whole season, he had 1,500 yards.
You think that surprises me?
It doesn't surprise you, right? It doesn't surprise me either. And what are some of the deficiencies that the Jets have? It's their red zone. They're 52% right now completing scoring in the red zone. So what do you go out there and do? You get a veteran that is familiar with your other veteran quarterback, the two buddies. They come back together, and now you try to help fix some of those red zone issues. You thought it was going to be Mike Williams, but Mike Williams just hasn't panned out. So now you get to have Davante Adams here. For me, I think it's going to be slightly Davante Adams, but don't forget about Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, guys, has a week here where he had 22 targets.
No, he didn't. No, he did not.
He did
have 23.
Oh,
He had
23.
23.
Sorry,
Yeah.
23. 23 targets placed upon him, and he did work, and he finished as the number one wide receiver. I definitely don't think he's getting that anymore. I still think that he could be in the range for Garrett Wilson, 6 to 8 targets per game. But I think that Davante Adams, especially coming back this week, and it is another thing that I looked at too, Greg, that I thought was pretty cool. Did you know that Davante Adams, you know who he played last week, right? Or he didn't play, but he was on the sideline. But you know who the Raiders played last week.
He had to rehabilitate.
Right. You know who the Raiders played, right?
No.
The Raiders played the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, okay.
Who do the Jets play this week?
Probably the Steelers, the way you're talking.
They play the Steelers. So he's had 2 weeks, guys. This is something that I look at. When I saw this, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. He's had 2 weeks now to look at film study on this Pittsburgh defense. Now, this Pittsburgh's defense, it's hard to study for. It's a tough defense ran by Mike Tomlin and the DJ Watt and all of the great players on the defensive end. But what I will say is when you get a veteran like Davante Adams and you get a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, a guy who's seen this offense now twice in a row, he's got to study for them twice in a row. I think Davante Adams does some work this week. I think actually Davante Adams gets in the end zone and you get to see the two buddies hugging and, hands in the air, everything going. But I still think that the Steelers win the game. I still think the Jets lose. But right now, rest of the season, I'm gonna slightly go Davante Adams.
I don't care who wins the game. What I look at is it's going to take a little while because it's a different offense. It's similar to the Green Bay offense, but he hasn't been in the Green Bay offense in 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's a ways. What I think is that Wilson has 67 targets, including that 23. All right. That's 11 targets a game. He's going to lose targets. Now, I'm thinking he'll get around 8 to 10 targets a game. Okay. He's the guy that takes the top off of a defense. So Davante Adams doesn't have his speed. He just doesn't. So Wilson will still be getting 6 to 8 targets a game. Mm-hmm. I think that Davante's going to get around 9 or 10. For his career, Davante's averaged 9.1 targets per game. So it's not like he's a 14 target a game guy. He's just not. Okay. And I just think that's for 10 plus seasons, by the way. He's in his 11th season. So Rodgers is averaging 36 pass attempts per game. Okay. He had a high of 54 and he had a low in the 20s. But he's averaging, 36. It's possible they both could get 10. Not likely. I went back and looked at Nakua and Kupp, and they didn't both get 10. Okay. Yeah. It's hard to get two receivers 10 targets a game on a consistent basis. Yeah. Now, 1 week it might be Adams, and 1 week it might be Wilson. But here's what I see happening. You cannot ignore the Jets passing game, even though the offensive line sucks. All right. It does because
how bad is it, Greg? How bad are they?
Well, all you got to do is watch a Jets game and look at Rodgers' face every time he gets hit. The dude struggles to get up from just a hit. Now, I'm not talking about a destructive hit. I'm just talking about a hit. He's 40 years old, man. It's hard. But what I see happening is a lot of teams, when they play a team that's got a great running back, and the Jets have two great running backs, all right, what they'll do is they'll put 5, 6, 7 men in the box. They'll go to man under with either corner, quarter, or two high safeties.
Well, right? wait, Greg, explain to us what quarters are.
Quarters is basically where you have 4 safeties spread across the top of the defense, and they're basically taking a quarter of the field. And there's overlap there, and it prevents the deep pass. Okay, with the Jets, nobody worried about the underneath pass. They worried about the deep pass. That's why Tyler Conklin caught like 10 passes in one game. It's because he was open underneath the whole game. Okay, but that's also why Breece Hall has struggled this year. It's because basically there's so many men packed in the box. He's not finding any gaps. Now, last week they had a change in offensive. The coordinator's the same, I think, but the play caller is different and the head coach is different. So they had a difference in offensive philosophy.
Yes.
Now, whether Rodgers is behind it or not, I couldn't care less. What I care about is it effective? Okay.
Right.
Brees Hall had his best game of the year last week. Okay. It wasn't great, but it was better. Now, when you add Davante Adams and Garrett, and you still got Lazard out there, you still got Conklin out there, and Brees Hall's a great receiver out of the backfield. And Braylon Allen has been a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. I don't think that they're going to throw the ball 40 times a game, so I don't think you're going to see, each of Adams and Wilson getting 25% or 10 targets a game. But I do think that the two of them will probably get 17, 18 targets a game combined. And I think what that does is you got the top on. They've got to guard against the deep pass because Rodgers can still fling it. Okay. And I think what it does is it takes men out of the box, and it's going to open holes for the running game. Okay. Yeah. I think Davante Adams will be the receiver that's used in the red zone. Right now, that has primarily been Allen Lazard. Yeah. And Rodgers still has a rapport with Lazard, and he'll be getting the third DB coverage now. So I think Lazard will still be used in the red zone, but I think Garrett Wilson has never been a red zone target. He may catch one or two, but he's not a primary red zone target. He's a.
Are you dropping Allen Lazard, Greg?
No, I've got him on a team. I got to see how this plays out for 2 or 3 games before I drop it. Okay. What I am doing is taking him out of my lineup because, and I also think the first game won't tell the tale. You've got to get 2 or 3 times for these guys to get their timing together and fill out how they fit together. Remember, a lot of the NFL game is read passes, read options, where the receiver and the quarterback have to be on the same page.
Right.
And so it's going to take a little while. He's a pro, and Rodgers is a pro. They will get back in sync relatively quickly. But that said, they probably won't get back in sync in 3 days. And that's what they've had. Okay? So this game, I do not expect Adams to have a huge game. I do think he'll have a good game because they're going to force feed him the ball.
Do you think he gets in the end zone?
I
mean, those are hard to predict, but what do you think?
Who are they playing?
The Steelers.
Probably not. Not this week.
You don't think so, huh?
Steelers have a good defense.
I think he's getting in. They do. But again, it's like I said, he's had 2 weeks now to study for them.
Yeah, to study the Steelers, but not in terms of the offense of the Jets.
That's true. He does have to learn the aspects.
You can't study the offense of the Jets until you get there because, frankly, it changed last week. If you look at earlier games, it's not the same. Yeah. So, I don't think he gets in the end zone this week. He might, but I don't think so. But I do think going forward, rest of season, he'll probably get, I want to say 6 to 10 touchdowns, which is pretty good considering we're already in week 7.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I'm not getting rid of Garrett Wilson either. First of all, I don't think you can get as much for him as you should. Yeah. But if somebody offered me Garrett Wilson right now cheap, I'd take it. I'd take it because I think he's going to have some big games going down the field. You got Garrett Wilson going deep to clear the area, and you've got Davante Adams going across where Garrett just cleared. Right. Who's the safety going with?
Yeah. You
don't know. Half the time he'll go with Adams. Half the time he'll go with Wilson. If they leave Wilson open deep 1-on-1,
if they do crossing routes, it's definitely intriguing. It's cool to see. I make fun of it. I call them the buddies, and the Green Bay buddies. But it is going to be intriguing, and the fact that it's Sunday night football. That in of itself is going to make it even more intriguing. I bet a lot of people who probably weren't going to watch this game. Well, they probably didn't have this game circled like the Jets versus the Steelers, and especially the way these two offenses have looked the first 6 weeks of the season. They probably were like, that. But now with this Davante Adams story and the Robert Saleh story, the saga continues with that, and all of the turmoil that this team has gone through. And then the Bills, we got to give the Bills credit for playing chess with them and getting Amari Cooper. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, it is intriguing. Now it turns into a game that, I mean, I was going to watch it anyway, but I think a lot of America would want to watch. So it's going to be fun. We got a third question, although this person did not give me their name. And I don't know how I didn't get their name, or maybe I just forgot to put it on. That's probably what happened. He's thin at running back. He says that he has Rachaad White as his number 3. We just talked about that. The PPR, he's looking for a pickup. He's starting Kyron Williams and he's starting Kareem Hunt this week. And he has a flex at wide receiver. He didn't say who the wide receiver is, but he wants us to rank. I think we already know our rankings, but he wants us to rank in order these running backs. He has Raheem Mostert, Ray Davis, Isaac Guerendo, Kamani Vidal, Sean Tucker, Jalen Wright, and Benson. Greg, who are you?
Trey Benson. Trey Benson. I hate it when they don't have the full name.
Trey Benson. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to be slightly different than you, I'm pretty sure. I like Ray Davis. I like the way he ran. He ran hard. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. And we've expected, and with the addition of Amari Cooper, that's going to open up that offense. So I got Davis number 1. Mostert's probably the safest pick if he stays healthy, because he's on. I realize they don't have Tua, so the offense hasn't been as high flying as it used to be. But he would be my second pick for floor, just for floor. Third is going to be Vidal. Okay, I think Vidal may be the best of all of them if J.K. goes down. But right now, this moment, he's my third. Now Guerendo, Tucker, Guerendo, Wright, and Benson. I went with Tucker next, Guerendo, Wright, and then Benson. Wright, I think, has the ability to go into the number 1 spot. But until Miami gets a quarterback, the offense is not going to be that good. So I'm not going to put Wright above the others. Mostert runs hard, and that's why I put him up there. But Tucker I like, but again, when Rachaad White comes back, if it's a 3-headed monster, I don't want any part of it. And Benson, again, you're waiting for an injury for him to have any relevance at all. And even then, it's not a great offensive team, so he's last on my list.
So I'm actually really surprised that you didn't say Kamani Vidal first. I thought you were going to go there with him, and I'm even more surprised you had him at 3, because you've been preaching Kamani Vidal since
before the season,
start of the season. Like you, summertime, you were preaching him, and I believe I took him in a couple of leagues. Like I probably, like you said, that I'm not.
I picked him up this weekend. I picked him up this week.
Yeah, I talked up Bijan Robinson, and you picked him up in a couple of leagues. I did that with Kamani Vidal also. So I like Kamani Vidal. But this is the situation for me. I don't even have Raheem Mostert. I wouldn't even consider at all to play, like picking him up at all. Like Raheem Mostert to me, with Jalen right there. I know Devon Achane is dealing with other injuries again, but this offense is such. I don't want anything to do with the offense until Tua comes back.
Well, remember,
I do think.
Remember, Jalen Wright got 86 yards rushing on 13 carries last week. So the offense isn't dead. The offensive line is still pretty good. They just don't have a pass threat right now.
Right. And that's one reason why I do have Jalen Wright ahead of Mostert. Mostert, I'm not even considering. I am like, no. Okay. He's older. He's, now look, if Devon Achane does end up getting on IR, then you have to, because when that offense is on and clicking, it's one of the highest scoring offense, really potent offense out there. So I know it's kind of hard to say, but I'm not considering Mostert. I've seen him on.
What if Tua comes back next week?
If Tua comes back next week, I'm kind of at a wait and see approach. I wouldn't go out there and now if you have like a second kicker because of your kicker on bye week or a defense, something like, yeah, absolutely, by all means. But if you have to choose between Sean Tucker or Raheem Mostert, I'm dropping Raheem. I'm not going to go with Raheem Mostert. I'm going with Sean Tucker. But as far as it goes for me, and I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. So for the bottom, it's Raheem Mostert for me. It's Trey Benson because look, James Conner has still been balling out. He's staying healthy. The offense has looked up and down. It's a really strange how they'll have a really good week and then they'll have a
Connor
really
always looks good until he's injured.
Until he's injured.
And so he always looks good. He's a good running back.
And so Benson is a guy that I would pick up. I would not, and stash him because there is a chance that James Conner could, find himself, a little banged up because that's how it's been for him. Then I'm going to go with the Isaac Guerrero. I know that he had that great run last week. And a lot of people, he showcased his speed. A lot of people said that, it was a little bit of a fluke play. I get it. I understand. But you still saw the speed out there on the field. But Jordan Mason is back to full participation in practice. I think the scare was a lot more than what we thought, or at least it looked bad on the field, and it turned out to be not as bad as we thought with the AC sprain. So I'm gonna go with Guerrero there, and then I'm gonna go with Ray Davis because Ray Davis, he's banged up now, so he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. And James Cook is back to full participation. Again, I would roster Ray Davis because James Cook is dealing with a toe injury, and those things can flare up at any time. And then I'm going to go with Sean Tucker because, look, guys, it's a high-powered offense. And I understand the Bucky Irving situation. I understand the three-headed monster situation. I don't think out of that three-headed monster, I think that Rachaad White could be the one that ends up not seeing as many touches because of how efficient Bucky Irving has been, and Sean Tucker as well being efficient on both ends and being a kick returner as well. So I think that for me, Sean Tucker is going to be, and then I went with Kamani Vidal as my number one because look, this team in the LA Chargers, they love to run the ball. That is what they love to do. Quentin Johnson, he was having a good season, I guess, comparable to last, but he got a little banged up last week as well. I think that Kamani Vidal, they can look for him coming out of the backfield, doing wheel routes. I can see Kamani Vidal running in between the tackles. I am picking up Kamani Vidal everywhere right now. I recommend it. I listen to Greg. I listened to him on there, and I got him in a bunch of leagues. So I think we're a little off, but not by much. But I was really surprised.
Would you pick up Blake Corum over everybody except
Vidal? Yes. I would pick up. Now, Blake Corum, if he was in this grouping, Blake Corum would probably be my number two. I still like Kamani Vidal. Blake Corum would probably still be my number, just because Kyren Williams has been, we talk about efficiency, Kyren Williams has been efficient as far as scoring touchdowns. He's done it every game so far.
Actually, early in the season, his yards per carry was way down. He was not efficient. But then he got a couple. He got a couple. Yeah, but he got a couple easy matchups.
Yeah,
and exploded to RB1 status again. My thought is that, I said it before. I thought they would share, and I think they're afraid to let them share because if Corum looks better than Williams, then what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely pick up Corum. That is the first. That he should not be on waivers right now. He's starting to get a little bit of looks on the field now. I think that he could start to eat into more of Kyren Williams' touches as the year goes, because we know that Kyren Williams, we know the history that he has as well. So I agree. I think that Blake Corum has to be rostered. All right, number 4, Greg. Greg asked, so we're going to let you answer this one, Greg. Greg asked, Drake May or Kamani Vidal. He has one bench spot left on his starting, and his starting QB is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. I love me some Kamani Vidal. Yeah. All right. But he didn't mention whether he has a QB2.
Yeah, he didn't.
He did not mention that. And he didn't mention whether it was a single quarterback or a super flex. All right. So the only reason Drake May should be picked up is if it's an ultra deep league or a super flex. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a backup quarterback, you better get one. Because T-Law, look, let's face it, there's no way in any normal week I'm going to start Drake May over Trevor Lawrence. Just not going to do it. That said, what if Trevor Lawrence goes down with an injury? Okay, I don't know who your backup is. In that case, may be your best option, and if you wait, it might be too late. But other than that, either way, I still think, since I'm not going to start May over Lawrence at any point, I'm going with Vidal here. With the Gus on IR, Vidal's an injury away from being a top 15 back.
Now let's just play along here. Let's just see, what if it is a 2 QB league?
Well, if it's a 2 QB league, then my guess is he's already got 2, and he's talking about picking up May as a third. Okay? If he's got 2 and they're not injury prone, I probably still pick up Kamani Vidal, but I look at the backups to his starters and see if they're better than May. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, would you go Drake May, or would you go Jameis Winston? Would you go Drake May, Derek Carr, or Spencer Rattler? See, I'd rather have Derek Carr or Spencer Rattler over Drake May, which is why May was still on waivers, and Rattler, and I'm betting Rattler and Carr are both owned in his league. So there's very few, only if he doesn't have a backup would I consider, taking May over Kamani Vidal.
Yeah.
You're locked.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. I think anytime that you have a running back that could potentially get into more of a workload, could find himself, possibly being the starter, I think that is it's an absolute no-brainer, especially as the season gets more seasoned. So I think you go with Kamani Vidal here. I think it's a no-brainer, even if it's a 2 QB league. A 1 QB league, obviously you got T-Law. You don't have to worry about his bye week until I think week 14. So I just go ahead and stick T-Law in there, get Kamani Vidal on there and on your team as well, and just go with that. It's a pretty easy one. Daniel,
go ahead. Surprised me by recommending Vidal over Tucker, because I saw you everywhere recommending Tucker. Now that said,
I did because Kamani Vidal wasn't available, and most all the leagues
you're talking about.
Yeah, and most of the leagues I'm in, Kamani Vidal, I think I drafted him in 1 league. I believe I drafted him in 2 leagues. I'm sorry. And I picked him up on another league. I think it was 2 weeks ago, because I heard rumblings about you talking about, and then Gus Edwards, the rumblings with him as well, possibly be put in on IR. I think as soon as I found out Gus Edwards was injured and not playing that game is when I went and picked up. I went looking for Kamani Vidal and picked him up. So that's kind of how
before we go to the last question, I want everybody get over to the sports affiliation and sign up for their newsletter. It's a free newsletter, and you'll also get articles like Tip's Special Teams Weekly Summit, which is an outstanding article. You'll get it emailed to you, so you don't even have to go look for it. You don't have to remember. It just comes to your email. Sports Affiliation, go over there for sportsaffiliation.com. And we also, last night, Carla on Game Changers interviewed the guy behind Better Sports. And Better Sports has what's really a nice tool if you bet on sports. It helps you track your successes and your failures and helps point you in the right direction. Go watch that show because it's well worth it. Can you imagine a guy that's into sports betting got his start collecting stamps and selling stamps? The dude had the largest stamp selling business on eBay, the largest in the world as a 14-year-old. Okay, so go watch that. It's really great. But the last question we have is got to be for you, Tip, because you know how I'm going to answer this.
Oh yeah, and I think we're gonna agree again.
Daniel, yeah, that's rare. For Tip and I to agree is rare. Daniel wants to know: do you want Jackson Smith and Jigba, or do you want J-Mo this week? We're not talking rest of the season. We're talking this week.
Yeah, I want Jameson Williams. It's easy for me. The last 5 games that these teams have played, and I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, they are averaging 53 points per game against the both of them. So like it's right now I think the implied point total is 50. So it's a good chance that
That's
could happen
combined,
again.
right? That's
That's
combined.
combined. That's combined. Yes,
Okay.
combined. Yeah, so they've combined for 53 points. So with that being said, that leads me to say that Jameson Williams, who has caught either a deep ball, it seems like every single game, or a touchdown every single. Jameson Williams has been fun to watch, and he's sneakily one of the reasons why Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a little quiet. They're starting to make some noise. Last week we saw on Jerry Jones's birthday them get beat up in Jerry's world, and I think that you saw a Lions offense evolving even more, especially with the likes of Sam Laporta.
No, he really only caught 2 passes.
He did,
the one
but you
was
saw
a long touchdown.
But did you see the way that play unfolded? That's the one thing I love about Ben Johnson's offense. It is so diverse. It is so just nasty.
He tried to get 2 offensive tackles touchdowns.
Yes, I mean
he threw to one,
yeah,
and he lateral to another one.
I mean this offense is scary. For them to go out there and do a reverse flea flicker, that tells me that they believe in this offense. They believe in the personnel. They were willing
to believe in the line to give the quarterback time.
They believe in the line. They have a bunch of belief, right? But one thing I believe is that this is going to be another high-scoring game. I think both quarterbacks get off. I think both wide receiver tandems go off on this one. Running backs, though, okay, that's where, and we'll leave a little bit more of that later on the Thursday checkdown. So you guys got to tune into that to hear what I think about the running backs from the Detroit Lions, or at least one of them this week. But
they're both starters every week. They're both starters.
Wait, that is not coming from you. Wait. This is not coming from the Greg Kellogg who says that you do not always start your studs. Hold on.
No, you don't. But this week you do. Okay, trust me. You want both. How many games in a row has David Montgomery scored a touchdown, a rushing touchdown?
He's every game.
8 games in a row.
Yeah.
Going back to last year.
Oh, going back to last year. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm here to tell you, they just gave him $18 million for 2 years. I mean, $9 million a year for a running back is high pay.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
So anyway, you know my thought. Never sit JMO for JSN. Never. Detroit doesn't throw a lot. They really don't. But they're using Williams as their deep threat. And as you alluded to, he's getting a deep ball every game. Now, first 2 weeks, remember, I like to go to the game logs. The first 2 weeks, he had like 9 and 8 targets the first 2 weeks. He's only getting about 4 targets a game now. He's not getting a lot of looks.
Right.
But every game except one. Now, remember, they've only played 5 because they had their bye already. In 4 of 5 games, he's had a reverse. One of those reverse went for a 7-yard loss. All the others have gained at least 10 yards. At least 10 yards. All right. So that's plus points. I'd love to see him in the return game, but he's not being used there. I just think that Williams, you're going to get wide receiver 2 numbers out of him. He's given you wide receiver 2 numbers, at least wide receiver 2, in 4 out of 5 games this year. Yeah. Now, JSN has also given you wide receiver 2 numbers in 4 games over his entire career. Okay? Read that. That's all of last year plus this year, 4 games. Give me JMO every time here. And it's not my Ohio State bias, which I acknowledge.
Well, one thing I will say, though, about JSN is this Seattle offense, it's actually a fun offense to watch because they throw the ball a lot. They are averaging like 42 pass attempts per game. And I think when they're away, which they're in Atlanta this week, they throw the ball 50 times a game. So there could be a situation.
This. Yeah. What did they mirror Detroit's offense in one regard? They've got 2 good running backs and they use both of them.
Yeah.
Kenny Walker is outstanding. Zach Charbonnet, if he's on your waiver wire, get him. If Walker goes down, he becomes a top running back. So If he's and he was on the waiver wire in one of my leagues, I've got a waiver claim in for him. Whether I get him or not, I'll know tomorrow. But basically, he's got, and they've got 3 good wide receivers. JSN's a good wide receiver. He's just not as good as Lockett or DK Metcalf. Metcalf's a monster. He really is a monster. Next year, I'm going to be drafting DK. I really am.
I got him in several leagues because of just the I didn't know about the volume that they were going to be throwing in Seattle, but I knew
I heard
that
rumors.
Ryan Grubb, I heard that Ryan Grubb's offense was going to be aggressive, and so far it's been that. It's been very aggressive. So I don't hate the JSN versus JMO. Obviously, we're both going JMO on this one. But if there's and of course we don't know Daniel's full roster, but if there's a way that you could possibly put JSN in here, I wouldn't be mad at it. If he has a guy like, I'm just saying Rashid Shaheed was on his team and he's injured now, or if you got another wide receiver or a flex option that you just don't know about,
backup tight end, backup kicker, backup defense. Yeah, if you've got a backup at any of these positions other than for a bye purpose, like if I've got Laporta in week 5, he's on bye. So I have to have a second kicker, and I'm not going to drop Laporta to pick up a second kicker. So I have 2 that week. But week 6, Laporta goes back in the lineup, and my backup is gone. Right now, I've got 2 kickers on one team, and that's because one of them is Dallas Goedert, and he's hurt. And I'm not going to cut him because when he comes back, he's valuable. But
is Dallas Goedert? That's one person I've been looking to see. Did he practice yesterday or today? Because I know it was a hamstring. Yeah,
he's got a hamstring.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's had that before.
Play a full game.
Yeah, he's had that before. Okay, so real quick, Greg, before we sign off for this episode, I want to know your thoughts on tonight's game. Now, I am going to a high school football game this evening after our show, so I will miss some of the game. I'm gonna try to sneak having the Bluetooth in my ear, but if my girlfriend's there watching, she's probably not gonna have that. So I will be looking at the updates and ready to talk about it later tonight on the Rip and Tip space. But I just want to know what your thoughts are on this game. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about it on the Thursday checkdown as well. So go ahead.
Blowout. New Orleans is just too beat up. It's going to be a blowout. Even with Surtain missing, that Denver defense is very good. And Bo Nix is surprising people. He really is. If Denver had a running game, they would be a very good team. But they don't have a running game, so they're one-dimensional. Yeah. And that one dimension is all short passes because Bo's not going downfield. Now, if Bo starts going downfield, things might change a little bit. But right now, it's all checkdowns and short throws. So I still think they're going to win by 14 to 20 points.
Wow.
Just because New Orleans is beat up. They're really beat up, and that Denver defense is a good defense.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking up. I think it's been about 3 weeks now. I've been watching this Riley Moss guy who's on the opposite side of Patrick Surtain. He has been balling out too. These two corners are playing really good football.
Surtain loss hurts them.
Excuse me.
It really does.
Yeah, it does hurt them.
Loss hurts them.
Yeah, it does hurt them. But you guys are going to have to wait.
Olave and Shaheed are both gone. Helps them. So
it does. It does.
Again, go out and get Bub.
That's what I was just about to tell you. Like, tell everybody about that one more time.
Okay, Bub Means got like 9 targets last week because of the injuries to the wide receivers. He turned it into a reasonably good game, and he's been practicing with Spencer Rattler the whole season because they're second teamers.
Second teamers, yep.
So he's got chemistry with the kid. He's a 6'2" receiver, I want to say 215, but it might be 210. But he's a big receiver, okay? And DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, these guys muscle you for the ball. They get separation, but even when they don't, if it's a 50-50 ball, chances are they're getting it. I think Bubba Means may be the same type of player. I haven't seen him enough, but he's got the size. And so I say for this week alone, Surtain's missing. Somebody's going to catch the ball. Bub Means, not Bubba, Bub Means, Bubmeans. I've picked him up already in 2 leagues. I advise you pick him up, and if you've got a flex spot, put him in it, and
Yeah.
we'll see how he does. If he's bad, yell at me. I'll take it.
All right, a couple of things or several things before we leave. Did you see what Clint just said? Clint said they were trolling the Cowboys at the end of the game play last year, and they were rubbing it in. So, and he's talking about them throwing the ball to the offensive lineman because they had a bad call last year with the offensive lineman. Supposedly got the 2-point conversion, but didn't get it. They took it back.
Yeah, that may be true, but Ben Johnson has always done weird things. Okay, but that pass to the back of the end zone to Penei Sewell was open.
Yeah.
And I think there was a penalty in play. And the lateral to Taylor Decker was open. He scored. Taylor Decker scored. The announcers complained about ball security because he's not a running back riding it high and tight, but he scored. If an offensive lineman hadn't been illegally downfield because it was a pass and then a lateral, that would have been a score. You give these linemen a touchdown, one touchdown in their career, they love you for life. They will work their tails off for you for life. I don't think that was rubbing it in, though. I will say that was Jerry Jones' birthday. I would have loved to have seen both linemen score. And it wasn't Detroit that threw the interceptions that gave them the ball in close. What do you want them to do? Sit down and not try to score? I mean, late in the game, they went into victor formation. But when you got 3-4 minutes left, you try to score. That's what you do. Because guess what? At the end of the year, when the playoff rankings are put in place, guess what one of the tiebreakers is? Point differential. Point differential. So the points you score all count.
Yes. And you know what? And the other point I will add to that, Greg, is if you don't like it, Cowboys, stop it.
Stop it.
Like you guys had an opportunity to stop the onslaught that was bestowed upon you by the Lions on Jerry's birthday. You had an opportunity to show a little pride. And guess what? Not only that, the Lions lost one of their leaders on defense, and Aiden Hutchinson, and they
still kept pressure on Dak. They were in Dak's face all night.
Yeah, it's just like you got to show a little bit more pride, especially playing football. And right now, I think the bye came at a perfect time for those Cowboys to figure out what their next steps are going to be. But as far as Greg told you it's going to be a blowout. I'll wait to give you guys a little bit of what I feel like is going to happen on the Thursday checkdown space or show. That's coming up in less than an hour, Greg. We got about 58 minutes until our show. So I'm excited about it. But, man, I appreciate you guys being on here, especially with some of the technical difficulties we had at the beginning. But, hey, we got here. We're answering questions. Still send us questions. Greg, I know I put in the TC _ bookings at Yahoo. That is a way to get to us and get those questions to us. That's how I send the questions to Greg for the show that we do. We would love to do this every day, but Greg is happily retired. I, on the other hand, am working. So yeah, so we want to do this as much as we can for you guys.
Email me, send us messages on Twitter. It doesn't matter how you get the question to us. You can even come in here and put it in live, and we will endeavor to answer it if we have time. But if you send it to us in advance, we can do the deep dive. And like I say, I like to look at the game logs. I like to look at the matchups. I can't do that while I'm on the show. I have to do that ahead of time. So get us the questions early, and we'll get you your answers.
And with that being said, we're signing off for today. We're going to end the stream. And like I said, 57 minutes from now, we're going to be doing the Thursday check down at the sports affiliation.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh,
do you know who's on that with us? We've got an actual scientist, a research scientist who's a professor at a university that's coming on, and Steve is amazing. If you haven't seen Steve on Twitter, on X, go look up Steve Goff because he is really good.
Yeah, and you know, and to speak on that, you know, we are going to get scientific today. You know, I'm not going to get scientific. Greg probably won't get scientific, but well, no, Greg knows a little bit of his sciences, but I know Dr. John's going to get scientific, so I cannot wait to hear what some of his theories and what he comes up with to pick some of the players that he did this week. So, guys,
He's
check it out.
working on a project we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh,
I
boy.
talked to this man for 45 minutes on the phone, Tip. I wanted more, but Janie was calling me, so I had to hang up. But he needs to get some people to assist him with the research. He retires shortly. When he retires, he's going to spend more time doing it. But he's looking at how a trade like Devontae impacts the players on Devontae's new team and his old team. And he's trying to quantify it scientifically.
Look at this. Oh boy. Look, I am gonna go and get my I have my scientific goggles right here, Greg. I'm gonna have to go ahead and put them on a little early. So I have my scientific goggles.
Those look like ski goggles. You're in
They're
Texas.
actually
You know about skiing.
They're actually my work goggles, Greg, because you know I work at the port, so you know we got all sorts of crazy stuff flying out there. So I got to put my goggles on from time to time. But I'll have these on. I'll clean them up and have them on too. But yeah, other than that, guys, we'll see you in 55 minutes. Peace.
Peace out.